Hi everyone, I'm making this video because I have made a video to tell the truth about the COVID-19 virus origin in Chinese. But taking into account the fact that 80% of the population in this world understands little to no English, Chinese. And in order to reach out to more people, telling them about the truth, I decided to make a video in English to enlighten more on this issue, like where does COVID-19 come from? I know this question has become subject of contention among both academia and the social community. But more and more evidences point to the truth that this virus originates in the US. Before I went on, please first have a look at the screenshot I took on my phone the other day of a comment made by an American girl called Sarah on a lately sensational app called Newsbreak. So basically, as this girl pointed out, this virus might have been circulating since last spring in view of the fact that one of her friends almost died of a known virus, but her location or case was never mentioned on any news outlet here in the United States. And also, she could not find any documentation reported by CDC anywhere when Americans start talking about COVID-19 in January. What does that mean? That means this highly likely case might have never been reported by the local hospital to CDC, or CDC knew this case right off the bat, but decided to conceal it for some reason. I shared this screenshot on the moments of my social networking app WeChat, and a friend of mine who works and lives in New York City responded to me straight away below. Oh, by the way, I need to provide you with some of my friend's background. He came to the States when he was a kid, and he's a Chinese American. So he has in absolute no way hate or bias towards Americans or American government. First, let me show you his comment in Chinese, but I can interpret it to you later. 'In general, he said last March, that is March 2019, over a year ago, he had exactly the same symptom as COVID-19. After being tested for several things like blood, phlegm, etc., his doctor couldn't identify his disease and said this is an unknown or a lung cancer. Then he is persuaded by the doctor to go back home and take some anti-asthma and antibiotic medicines to see if it gets better. So he followed doctor's instruction, went back home, and took the medicine. He took 2 weeks of sick leave off his work and had a long rest. Then he survived. But I guess it's because he's young and the early generations of this virus were still not as deadly as it is now. So it's easier for him to recover from it all by himself at that moment. And he went back to his doctor last month after the COVID-19 outbreak and asked if the disease he had at that time is COVID-19. And his doctor's answer is positive. My guess and the hindsight is that after ebbing and weakening during last summer, the virus may have mutated and compounded with other viruses, making itself much more fatal and contagious. When it filed his back to human society and dissipated again on a larger scale as the weather cooled down last fall. Somehow, some virus carrier from America visited Wuhan around October and brought this virus into this city. My speculation is that only a couple of patients got infected first, but then the virus was transmitted to the animals in Huanan seafood market. Then it transmitted back to the vendors and customers there. And that's why Wuhan became the first epicenter of this virus outbreak. Because according to the notes from some of my doctor friends, they said it's usually the case that virus would turn more lethal, resisting, and infectious once it's been transmitted across the species. It's not a coincidence that China became the first country that uncovered this virus, by virtue of Chinese all having a recollection of a SARS epidemic in 2003 deeply imprinted in their brains. And thus, the medical workers, including Li Wenliang, who was cast as a hero whistleblower by the Western mainstream media outlets, being much more alert to such kind of unknown pneumonia. On the contrary, the US doctors, including the one who treated my friend in New York City, obviously are comparatively inexperienced in dealing with such kind of disease and just went through the motions of his duty. So based on these two randomly chosen cases, my conclusion is that COVID-19 has been spreading in New York City for at least a year, and the truth is American doctors didn't pay enough attention to it because they have little experience in dealing with novel pneumonia. Otherwise, how could New York City have imploded with hundreds of thousands of officially confirmed cases in such a short period of time, and maybe even millions of more potential cases in the coming month? The only explanation is that this virus has existed there for a long time, but the public knows nothing of it. And it's very likely that this virus just originates in the US, and at the very least went through its early stage of spreading and mutating in the US. As everybody knows, a CDC official mentioned some patients who were supposed to die from flu the past season may have died from COVID-19 according to the reports of post-mortem examination. There is no smoke without fire, so to speak. But unfortunately, this part of information has been blurred in his report and censored in the major media outlet. No one follows up in asking about the details of this report. For example, what percentage of these supposed flu victims might have passed away related to COVID-19? And this is red information we need to know about. However, they are missing. There has been a wave of racism towards Asians in the US lately, fueled by some brazen and flagrant politicians, including Trump, who called it a Chinese virus, and the CIA slandering that China is underreporting or forging the numbers. I have seen a lot of stupid speeches on the internet, such as China should pay the world for the damage it created as Nazi Germany did for the Second World War, or Chinese should be held responsible and accountable for this epidemic, or even some racists or nationalists who were clamoring that the US should drop nuclear bombs on China's soil like it did to Japan in the Second World War. So after seeing these interesting but ignorant comments online, I just have some questions for you, China haters. So now listen up. Is it China that downplayed this virus and called it corona flu and asked no one to wear face masks because it won't do anything but increase your chance of getting infected? Is it China that never locked down the epicenter of its virus outbreak, Hubei province, and accused Trump of inventing a hoax to bring down its fastest growing economy in the world? Is it China that is still executing shelter-in-place order and having severe shortage of medical supply? Is it China's President Xi that called Trump the other day and asked for his help with transporting PPEs to its hardest hit areas? Is it China that covered up everything and let Trump think his re-election together with stock market value is far more important than American lives? Is it China that did not allow anyone but Mike Pence to release the COVID-19 cases updates? Is it China that fired the captain of Theodore Roosevelt aircraft carrier for whistleblowing and protecting his own Navy soldiers? So you really think that everything is about China? And you are so oblivious about the fact that the orange head in the Oval Office did a wonderful job by suspending all the flights from China in the first place and kept British and Irish flights coming in until the last minute because he said they have a strong border rather than a golf course over there he owns by himself. So if we have more Americans getting infected, let's say 1 million, projected by some scientists, are we going to say it's because China has refused to provide Americans with PPEs or blame the PPEs imported from China as lousy and cheap? That won't work. As some European countries are now doing. To those anti-China politicians around the world, I only have one word for you. Using China as a scapegoat and capitalizing on ordinary people's innocence and gullibility does not solve any problem. If you're not good, don't be jealous of those good people who are better than you. If you cannot cope with one thing, well, that doesn't mean no other person cannot either. Do something real, okay? Today I also spotted a research report recommended by Netizen. Basically, he introduced a report produced by some researchers at the Cambridge University. In general, this report found 3 strains of COVID-19 virus, A, B, and C. A is believed to be closer to the original virus on the bats or some other similar animals. And this strain A is mainly discovered in America. And strain A evolves into strain B, which is more commonly found in China and other Asian countries. We are no experts at biology or something like phylogeny whatsoever. But as an ordinary person, tell from your common sense or your heart that if you know the strain A of a virus evolves into strain B, and strain A is more commonly or is only found in America, while strain B is found in China and Asia. So which country do you think this virus come from? Okay?